Cots can be a game changer to sleeping well in the woods, but with so many cots advertised for camping, how in the world do you know which one's right for you? Whether you're looking for a cot for your bad back or you're just looking to take some of the rough out of roughing it, then you're in the right place. I've got 21 different camp cots here today to test and compare. So let's find out. Is this $47 cot just as good as this $300 one? First, we'll look at the portability of each cot based on size, weight, how easy they are to carry, and how much space they take up in your vehicle. Then we'll test for ease of use, namely the time and effort it takes to set them up and put them away. Comfort is in the back of the beholder, but there are a few specific things that I'll look for in each cot. Lastly, we'll look at the quality based on materials used, the fit and finish, and the convenience of the design.
Gear up and get outside.
15 different brands are represented among the 21 cots that we're testing today, including top sellers from Coleman, Cabela's, Teton, and Amazon. Here's a table with a full list of our cot contenders, including their typical retail prices. I also made up some groupings of different types of cots. That might help you start to narrow down what you're looking for. Feel free to pause your screen if you'd like to study this list. Do note that while we purchased the majority of these with our own money, 8 of them were given to us for free to test. While those freebies save us a few bucks, we treat all gear that we review the same, whether we got it for free or not. A personal thank you to Bass Pro Shops, Klymit, Cots Sports, and ALPS for helping me to stay out of the doghouse for spending so much money on camping gear to test, and also for providing me beds to sleep on should I find myself in said doghouse. One of the biggest drawbacks of a cot is that they are cumbersome to lug around, and since cargo space in your car, truck, or station wagon comes at a premium on a camping trip, a luxury item like a cot might be the first thing to get the boot, ever since Mitt Romney made transporting your dog on the roof uncouth. So I tested cots for portability. To do so, I first measured the weight of each cot with a luggage scale. I then measured the dimensions of each cot with a measure tape, length, width, and height. That allowed me to calculate the volume so you can begin to see the relative differences in bulk and how much room they'll take up in your trunk on your way to Yellowstone. Here's a table of the size and weight. This is the last time I'll say it, but you may want to pause your screen when you see a table like this if the information matters to you. We're going to move pretty quickly through this stuff. To confirm whether taking a cot so you can sleep well in Yellowstone might mean leaving your least favorite child back at home, I took a shot of each cot in the back of my pickup next to a standard crappy toolbox so you can see the relative differences in size. I also took a little stroll across the lawn with each cot in tow. The cots that were the least cumbersome to haul around include the One Tigris with its nice and practical carry case, the Klymit, the Helinox, the ALPS Ready Light, and the ALPS Light. The other small ones were good too, they were just super basic cases with no carry straps. But the disco bed and Cabela's big cots felt very heavy. No way my young kids can help pack those to the tent. Unsurprisingly, the Coleman Comfort Smart and Cabela's lounge cots were bulky, heavy, and awkward to carry. The rest were fine. For this and each subsequent test, I gave each cot a score between 1 and 5 based on relative performance, where 1 is the worst and 5 is the best. Here's how I ranked each cot for portability. Obviously, the smaller, lighter ones scored the best here, as they were designed to. If you're liking what you're seeing so far, do me a favor and hit that like and/or subscribe button. As a thank you, here's a picture of a sleeping wienerhound puppy. To test for ease of use, I counted how many 4-letter words I muttered while setting up each cot. I used a decibel meter to detect how loud the profanity was. Any offensive exclamation louder than a lawnmower resulted in immediate elimination. JK. For realsies, I practiced setting up each cot once so I wouldn't be a total noob. Then I timed how long it took to set up and take down each cot and noted any difficulties or helpful features along the way. The Klymit took me 2 minutes 45 seconds to set up and 2 minutes 18 seconds to take down. I really like the click-in tension system, and it's a great case with plenty of room for everything without having to fight a zipper. The ALPS Escalade took 40 seconds to set up and 1 minute 10 seconds to take down. Very quick, but that case is too tight and requires a fight. The Mountain Summit gear took 2 minutes 35 seconds to set up and 1 minute 54 seconds to take down. Not bad, but like all similar cots, feeding those side rails through those sleeves is not good for my mental health. The Coleman Trailhead 2 took 1 minute 25 seconds to set up and 57 seconds to take down. You gotta watch your fingers if you want to keep them. It takes a lot of space to fold out those legs, and the tensioning bars take a fair bit of strength and technique. Not for the faint of heart or the children. Similar story on the Coleman Easy Step. It took 1 minute 30 seconds to set up and 1 minute 4 seconds to take down. No tensioning bars, but the fabric gets pinched when folding the cot up, and that's annoying. The Coleman Packaway took 52 seconds to set up and 33 to take down. Not bad. The King Camp took only 22 seconds to set up and 48 seconds to take down, which could have been faster if that bag wasn't so annoying to put the cot back into, as it was with every cot in this test with a similar bag. Same thing on the Sportneer. It took 27 seconds to set up and 41 to take down. The Coleman Comfort Smart Deluxe may be the biggest and bulkiest that we tested, but it was also the fastest. It only took 27 seconds to set up and a mere 19 to take it down. The Cabela's lounge cot takes some effort to get in and out of the bag and has lots of bits to adjust, but it clicks in place pretty quick. It took 58 seconds to set up and 1 minute 23 seconds to take down. The Cabela's Big Outdoorsman took 1 minute 32 seconds to set up and 3 minutes 4 seconds to take down, most of which was spent trying to wheel that sucker back into the devil bag it came out of. On a more positive note, the Teton took 1 minute 22 seconds to set up and 1 minute 28 seconds to take down and put away, largely thanks to the more user-friendly side-loading carry bag, even if it feels a bit flimsy. Despite what the manufacturer says with such optimism in its marketing materials, the disco bed is a pain in the tuchus to assemble. After some practice, it took me 4 minutes 7 seconds to set up and 5 minutes 16 seconds to put away, and that's just for one cot. It takes more than double that to build a whole bunk bed. Nice and organized case layout, but that too takes extra time to arrange. The Helinox light cot took 2 minutes 23 seconds to set up and 1 minute 50 seconds to take down. Like all these smaller, shorter cots, it's not hard, but there's a lot of snapping things together to be done, and the rings around those side rails make them super obnoxious to remove. Same concerns with the ALPS Ready Light. It took 2 minutes 56 seconds to set up and 2 minutes 45 seconds to take down. The ALPS Lite involved less clipping, but the side rails were janky and came apart easily in the cot. It took me 3 minutes 7 seconds to set up and 2 minutes 11 seconds to take down. The Marchway took 2 minutes 21 seconds to set up and 2 minutes 26 seconds to take down. It wasn't hard and didn't have the same problem with the side rails as the Helinox, but it involves just as much snapping things together and requires a fair amount of tension to get it set up right. It also has one of those annoying stuff sacks that's too tight. At least the Helinox sack was more generous. The Hit or Hike took 2 minutes 48 seconds to set up and 2 minutes 23 seconds to take down. It's an identical experience to the Marchway. Among the fastest and easiest designs was the aptly named Ozark Trail Easy Setup Cot. It only took 21 seconds to set up and 1 minute to take down, but only because I couldn't get the legs lined up correctly right away. The One Tigris Super Nubis took 2 minutes 7 seconds to set up and 2 minutes 31 seconds to take down, including the extra legs added for full height. While not the fastest, it has these slick tensioners that make it easier than others. Great design. And the carry bag is great too, with plenty of room for everything. The Nature Hike has a similar but different ratcheting tension system that works well, though I prefer the One Tigris design. This one took 2 minutes 19 seconds to set up and 2 minutes 24 seconds to take down. Look at this, first time using this Nature Hike cot, and the shock cord busted out of one of these feet. So it's not broken, but there's something I have to do that I didn't want to have to do. Dang it. Here's a chart of the sum of each cot's setup and takedown times listed from fastest on the left to slowest on the right. It's clear that there's a big trade-off between portability and ease of use when it comes to cots. The big cumbersome ones tend to be quicker to set up, while the small compact ones take more time, effort, and patience. Something to consider if you're quick to anger and don't want to start a camp out in a flurry of expletives. If you like camping, gear, and the great outdoors, then you'll love the Honey Hole email newsletter. It includes everything from insightful gear reviews and test data to outdoor news to tips and tricks. But what people love the most about it is the top 5 outdoor gear deals we find every single week and a chance at winning our weekly gear giveaway. Sign up for free here or down here. Cot comfort is subjective and your preferences likely won't match mine. To be honest, most of them feel pretty similar to me when I just lay on them. While I haven't yet slept on every one of these cots on an actual camping trip, I have slept on several of them, and there are a few things I have noticed about some that tend to bother me when it comes to comfort. Namely, size, noise, and stability. I measured the length, width, and height of each assembled cot with a measure tape. Here's a table showing the sizes of each cot. The height of the cot is more a matter of preference and the height of the tent you'll be sleeping in. When I'm in a tent with standing room, I like a taller cot so I can also sit on it and store gear underneath it. The shorter cots are nice for smaller tents, but also for when you have a lot of sleepers in a big tent. That way you can sleep on it at night, but more easily stow it away to free up floor space during the day. As a bigger guy, I find that plus or minus 30 inches of width is ideal for me. More width is fine, but not necessary, and I'm uncomfortable on 25 inches or narrower. I also want it to be longer than 6 feet or 72 inches because I'm 6 foot 1 inch tall. Plus or minus 78 inches long is nice. I sat on each cot, laid on them, tossed and turned, and took notes. Here's my assessment for each cot on noise, stability, and general comfort. The Klymit stays nice and taut and made no noise at all. While laying down, it's quite stable, though it does move back and forth and side to side a bit when tossing and turning, and it's quite tippy when sitting on the edge. I slept on this one camping the day after this test, and it was fantastic. It didn't really move on me at night, and the tippiness when sitting wasn't a deal breaker. The ALPS Escalade is extremely stable with virtually no movement whether sitting or laying down. It makes some minor fabric on frame squeaks, but not bad. The Mountain Summit gear has a little fabric squeak near the head when you move around and is stable enough. It tips a bit when sitting on the edge, though not as bad as the Klymit. It rocks around a bit when you toss and turn, and the fabric is a bit more saggy in the middle, sort of like a hot dog bun. The popular Coleman Trailhead 2 can squeak and give off a drum sound when empty, but once you're on it, it's nearly silent. It's super stable with minimal rocking, and overall, it's pretty comfortable. Like its brother, the Trailhead Easy Step squeaks more the longer you use it. I've had this one a long time, and can confirm that fabric on frame noise can be annoying. It's stable enough, but has a little rocking, and without a good pad, the frame can jab you in the sides, same as on the Trailhead 2. With the Coleman Packaway, be prepared for a fair bit of squeaking when you move around. It rocks from head to toe and cradles you like a subtle taco, which some might find cozy, others not so much. The King Camp is surprisingly rock solid, but the fabric and frame noise is no joke and likely to get worse. With the head not laying flat, a sinking feel, and a narrower fit, I'm really not a fan, and I don't think I'd sleep through the night on this one. Pretty much the exact same report on the Sportneer as the King Camp. Comfortable for lounging outside or on the beach, but wouldn't be my top pick to sleep on. The Coleman Comfort Smart Deluxe is silent, at least when new, and once those legs are set correctly, it's rock solid. With its springy frame and built-in pad, it's easily the comfiest cot thus far. Not surprised. The Cabela's lounge cot is basically silent, though the coarse pad fabric isn't the softest. It's rock solid with those big feet and multiple contact points, and while it sinks too much for stomach sleepers, the adjustable back makes it an awesome lounger. The Cabela's big outdoorsman cot is practically silent now, though it might squeak a bit down the road. It's super stable except for some rocking from head to toe, and it's hands down the roomiest cot in this bunch. The Teton has no frame noise and just a little rocking, but overall it's stable. Its size is perfect for me, nice and taut with room to move, and they also make bigger and smaller versions if you need them. The disco bed is pretty quiet with just a little frame noise. Most of the shaking and rattling will come from your bunkmate. It's nice and stable on both tiers, and though it's a bit more springy than others, maybe in a good way, I would have no trouble sleeping on it at 6'1", even with those raised ends. The Helinox is practically silent, but it's so lightweight I worry about crushing it when I sit down. The fabric feels fine, but it's just too narrow and short for me, so I'd probably be more comfortable on a pad on the ground. The ALPS Ready Light is totally silent and stable enough for a solid night's sleep. It's just the right size for me, and from my experience, it's been nothing but comfortable. The ALPS Lights fabric is louder than its pricier sibling, but there's no frame noise to speak of. It's stable with a little rocking, though you might feel the sidebars and some sag on account of the cheaper materials. The Marchway is nice and quiet, aside from a bit of fabric rustling, and it's stable enough with just a tiny rock. It's about as small as I'd ever go, so it's probably best for kids or smaller folks who don't toss and turn. The Hitter Hike feels almost identical to the Marchway. Same slight fabric noise, same minor rocking, same compact size. I'm guessing they share a factory because there's virtually no difference between them. The Ozark Trail is impressively stable and basically noise-free. It's on the narrow side, so you might feel the rails, but I've spent one night on it so far, and with the pad on top, it doesn't taco you as much as some other cots. The One Tigris is totally silent and super stable whether at the low or standard height. It has no real drawbacks. It's just about as small as I'd go, but it still feels great. Easily one of my favorites. The Nature Hike has a little fabric on frame noise and doesn't feel quite as stable as the One Tigris, but overall it's still pretty decent. Note that I always use a sleeping pad in conjunction with a cot, which makes for the best possible sleep outside that one can expect. An appropriately sized pad will upgrade any of these cots, but it won't make the squeaks or rocking go away, which is why I honed in on that. Here's how I rank them. For camping, I think you'll find the Klymit, the ALPS Escalade, the Cabela's Lounger, the Cabela's Big Boy, the Teton, the Disco Bed, the ALPS Ready Light, and the One Tigris to give you the best shot at being comfortable. The Coleman Comfort Smart would be great to have as a guest bed at your home or cabin. However, the King Camp, Sportneer, and Helinox just really didn't work for me. Too narrow, noisy, and uncomfortable. The final cot characteristics I evaluated were quality and design. This essentially involved me making a hodgepodge of unscientific observations and then for some declaring,
"That'll do, pig. That'll do."
I would wholeheartedly exclaim this blue ribbon affirmation to the Klymit, the ALPS Escalade, the Mountain Summit gear, the Coleman Comfort Smart, the Cabela's Lounge Cot, Cabela's Big Cot, the Disco Bed, the Helinox, the ALPS Ready Light, and the One Tigris. The fit, finish, construction quality, design, and material selection on these cots look and feel a few notches above the rest, regardless of price. Cots that I would rank as average, which may still mean you're getting your money's worth, include the Coleman Easy Step and Packaway, the King Camp, the Sportneer, the Teton, the Marchway, the Hitter Hike, the Ozark Trail, and the Nature Hike. The Coleman Trailhead 2 and the ALPS Light Cot really just looked and felt cheap, but then again, they are. Then I contemplated any clever design elements they had. We have way too many cots out here today to go through each of them one by one and cover all of the features. So I'm just gonna run through them rapid fire and we're just gonna look at what's unique, if anything, about each of these cots. For example, a bunch of them have little pockets or organizers on them. Pocket, 2 pockets, pocket, 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 pocket. I don't have them right now, but the disco bed does offer optional pocket add-ons, big, huge organizers along the whole side. That's what this Velcro is for. And 2 of the Colemans, the Easy Step and the Packaway, both have side tables. But honestly, I don't really like those. I always end up taking them off because they get in the way in the tent. The fact that you can prop the back of the Cabela's lounge cot up and it reclines is one of the biggest differentiators. And all the feet actually can extend. So if you want the whole cot to sit higher than it is, then you can do that. Obviously on this Coleman, it comes with the pad, but it isn't attached in any way. The most unique thing about this is that the legs just work different. It collapses down differently. And this right here is actually pretty slick. Got that button press system. You press it down like that to tension the cot, so you get better tension on this one than most. Some of the cots with this kind of frame are hard to put together because you just have to put a lot of tension on that. Like the Coleman Trailhead 2 is tough. But this Cabela's one has this lock-unlock system that extends that out just enough to put the extra tension you need, but it lets you loosen it up, which makes it a little easier to get that on when you're setting it up. The unique feature of the Teton is this little red peg there that helps you set that crossbar in just the right spot. The disco bed is full of unique features. It's a bunk bed first of all, and nothing else is. But these big round feet don't sink into stuff. It's really nice and modular how it goes together. Of course you can use the 2 separate, but it's got this strap as well that really cinches them down tight. There we go. Sort of roll that up, not the nicest presentation, but I believe that's how it works. And you got yourself a little, not the most comfortable bench in the world, but you know, somewhere to sit. The only thing unique about the Helinox is that it's so darn lightweight and so darn expensive. The ALPS Ready Light actually has a sleeve. It's got 2 layers of fabric there. The purpose of that is to let you insert a closed cell foam pad for some insulation. And the downside is you've got extra fabric, which means extra weight, but it is super comfy. 2 of the most unique cots in this group are the One Tigress and the Nature Hike for a few reasons, and a lot of things are similar between the 2. One, they both have something different going on underneath. The One Tigress has this cool sleeve that's going to allow you to stick like your socks, your jacket, an extra layer at night under there where you can easily reach your arm underneath and pull it out. I can imagine that actually being really useful. If you look underneath the Nature Hike, they actually put the instructions of how to set it up there printed right on the cot. That's going to be a nice reminder if you don't use it all the time. And they both have these tensioning systems, which I think are really clever. On the Nature Hike, it goes like this. You bring that up, and then that's how you get the tension. On the One Tigress, I actually like this one a little better. It's got this lever here, so when you're setting it up, you press it there, and you bring this lever out just to get additional leverage. Press it down, it clicks into place, and there you go. Little red tab where you release it. It just makes setting it up really easy. And I think that's smart. They have adjustable heights because you can insert additional legs into the bottom to make them sit up higher. The Nature Hikes just click into place, super simple, and so do the One Tigress legs with a little push button. One thing you might want to be concerned about is whether or not a cot will sink into soft ground depending on where and how you're going to use it. For example, the Nature Hike cot has pretty narrow feet and they do sink into soft ground quite easily. Whereas the One Tigress has thicker feet and it didn't sink that bad at all. This might not be a big deal for when you're in a tent, but if you have a tent floor, you also want to make sure that your cot feet aren't going to cause a problem and pierce through it or wear holes in it over time. Sometimes on cots that I have that are cheap and don't have great feet, I'll even get a piece of bark from the woods and place it under there so that I've got a nice flat surface that's not going to cause any trouble to my floor. Here's some more cots that might not have the best feet and a few that have really good ones for this very purpose. The big Cabela's cot has okay feet for this, but not the best. The Teton's feet are a little bigger. I wouldn't be worried in a tent, but maybe I would be in soft ground. This ALPS Escalade cot has okay feet for a tent, but might not do the best in soft ground, especially that middle one. While I've never had a problem, even though I've used these cots, the Coleman Trailheads aren't the best either. But here are a few that are pretty well optimized for soft ground and tents. The Klymit, the Mountain Summit gear, the Disco bed, the King Camp and Sport Near aren't that bad. And the Cabela's lounge cot is especially large. All of these ones like bars usually aren't a problem at all. I gave each cot 1 to 5 points for each of the 4 criteria. Then I added them up for the final score. Here are the results. The One Tigris Super Nubis took the top spot with 18 points. This really is a versatile cot. It can be used in virtually any tent with its adjustable height. It's relatively lightweight and compact, making portability a non-issue. It's not the quickest to set up, but the lever tension system is brilliant, as is the stash pocket underneath and the genuinely useful carry case. It's quality made and sells for $120. That's not the cheapest cot in the group, but I believe it offers the most bang for your buck. Runners-up include the Klymit Cedar Mesa and the ALPS Mountaineering Escalade, each with 17 points. At $170, the Escalade is the closest to a traditional cot, but much quicker and easier to set up, and sturdy as all get out. It's as comfortable as can be and surprisingly slim when transporting, though I wish that carry case wasn't so daggum tight. The Klymit, on the other hand, has ample room in its carry case and is an ideal size for taking in any vehicle, so you're not going to have to leave a kid behind to sleep well in the woods. The materials feel nicer than most every other cot in this lineup, and that tensioning system makes it one of the flattest, comfiest sleeping surfaces I've ever experienced when camping. And it's just the right size. While it's a little tippy to sit on, I discovered that wasn't a big deal after all in the hot tent last weekend. At $250, it's one of the most expensive cots out there, but it's clear that they invested in a smart design rather than just making a copy of the same old clunky cot that everyone else sells. It's no wonder that out of 21 cots to choose from, these were the 3 I selected to take camping last weekend for my wife, my daughter, and myself. My other 2 kids slept on the novel disco bed bunk cots, which definitely saves space, and they thought it was the most fun camping trip ever. These cost $380 for a pair at Bass Pro Shops or Cabela's, and there are all kinds of accessories you can get for them. Though they are heavy, bulky, and annoying to set up, they're well engineered, high quality, and super comfortable. The Cabela's cots offer luxury you don't find in any of these others. The Big Outdoorsman is larger than a twin mattress. I can see how this would be amazing in a wall tent at deer camp for 2 weeks straight. The lounge cot padding is great for naps outdoors, but also for sleeping on at night, and the adjustability of this cot for both sleeping and sitting positions is unmatched. The Mountain Summit gear is a high-quality cot for the money. I personally didn't love how it fit and felt, but I'm sure others would. While the Coleman Comfort Smart Deluxe would make a great guest bed at home, I wouldn't take it camping for its size alone. Despite their popularity on Amazon, I'd also pass on the King Camp and Sportneer unless you're just looking to read a book under the sun. The Coleman Trailhead 2 is probably the best-selling cot on this list with more than 24,000 Amazon reviews. It's also one of the cheapest at $60. It's not my favorite, but it works. While the ALPS Ready Light scored the best among the short cots, besides the One Tigris, I'm not convinced it's worth $300. Nor is the Helinox, in my opinion. While the quality feels nice and it's the lightest cot of all, it's just too narrow and I don't see how this would improve my sleeping experience on a backpacking trip. It's a no-go for me. I think the options from Amazon and Walmart would do the job just as well at a fraction of the price. The Hitter Hike, Ozark Trail, and Marchway cots are definitely my top budget picks at $47, $54, and $70 respectively. Which one do you like? Are there any of these for which you'd like to see a more detailed review? Is there another category of camping gear you'd like to see compared side by side on this channel? I hope you'll let me know in the comments. Now gear up and get outside. And don't forget to sign up for the honey hole.